Hello, hope you're all keeping well. Part 5 of The Explorer. The grubs were mixed with cocoa beans and pounded with a clean stick, turned into a paste, which, if you squinted and were of optimistic temperament, looked like flour and water. Now we just need to make a fire and cook them, said Fred. Just, said Con. We need a flint, said Fred. We need kindling, said Leela. And matches, said Con. I'll do the kindling, said Fred. Most of the wood surrounding them had dried since the rain the night before. He held the hem of the cricket jumper in his teeth and made a hammock for the wood. The night in the jungle had not improved the taste of the wool. He came back to the clearing and tipped the wood into a pile, a few paces away from the den. There were flints in there, said Leela. We could rub away the moss and use them to make a spark. Flints don't go off. Flints aren't enough by themselves, said Fred. I've tried. You also need a bit of steel. Leela ducked into the den to fetch the flint. Con was staring at Fred's watch. What's that made of? Fred stared down at his watch, covering it protectively with his hand. Glass, he says. And steel, he said. My father gave it to me when I was going to boarding school. But it's broken, said Con. I know that, he said. So, said Con, if it's broken, it's not really a watch anymore, is it? But what it is a lump of steel. Fred jerked his hand back. His father never brought his birthday gifts. He left it to his secretary to take Fred to Harrods and pick something sensible. This was the only gift that Fred could remember his father choosing himself. He had it engraved with Fred's initials. Leela nodded. It might be the only way, she said. Her voice had sympathy in it, but grit too. Fine, said Fred. He had an accountable, absurd need to cry. Fine, we'll just use it. Can I have first try? Asked Con. It's my watch. I know, but I never lit a fire before, she said. Not even the ones in the fireplaces at home. Not even on bonfire night, Fred asked. Not aloud. There was longing and hunger in her eyes. She looked away from him, turning the flint over and over in her hand, as if it was a jewel. But there was something written in her face, Fred thought, something in code that he couldn't begin to read. Here, slowly, he undid the strap. He held the watch in his fist, surreptitiously tracing the letters on the back with his thumb. Con watched in silence. He put it in her palm. I get second go. Leela heaped shredded leaves and dried grass into a pile. You do it over that, she said, so the spark has something to catch. Con struck the back of the watch against the stone, and Fred winced. She overshot and dug the flint into her own skin. She said nothing, but tried again. She bit down on her tongue, concentrating, her eyebrows furrowed so deep they nudged against her eyelashes, striking and striking until her fingers were raw. Suddenly, flint and steel let off a tiny little spark. Con was so stunned he fumbled the flint. Con is a she. Con was so stunned she fumbled the flint. Again, shrieked Max. Again. The spark came again, and a brief flare into the world that vanished as it had come. It needs to be lower over the kindling, said Leela. Con struck again and again. The spark caught against a blade of grass, which caught against another, and Fred's heart leapt as he dropped to his stomach and blew on the scrap of fire, terrified he would blow it right out. The flame faltered. No, don't die, said Con. Leela had a handful of dry moss. Fred blew again. The fire seemed to breathe in, and then exhaled a cough of flames. Max whooped. Leela held out a sheaf of twigs. The fire caught at them, made 5 burning fingers, and then ate the whole lot as it belched upwards. More, said Max. He was dancing in a tight circle, slapping at his ribs. Feed it more fuel. Fred added a handful of bone-dry leaves, and then another, and then another. The fire made a noise like an idea being born, a crackle that sounded like hope and sent a column of flames into the sky. They all rocked back on their ankles, grinning at each other. We could sleep in shifts, said Con, to make sure it doesn't go out. She looked at the fire with proprietorial pride. We made that by ourselves. Fred put the watch quietly in his pocket. It was scratched now and deeply dented. But inside his pocket, he clutched it so tight it dug a circular bruise into his palm. It's the most beautiful fire I've ever seen, said Leela. Yes, said Con, by far. Max bit lightly at Leela's arm. Can we eat now? I'm so hungry, I might die. Fred scrabbled in the dust with his nails until he found a flat stone and balanced it, wobbling dangerously on all 4 green wooden sticks over the centre of the flame. Leela divided the grub paste into 4 balls and spread them out on the stone. Eventually the pancakes began to bubble. Leela poked them. They're getting harder, she said, and they smell like a shoe, said Con. That probably means they're done. One of the trees near the den had vast fleshy leaves as big as serving dishes. Fred pulled 4 off and put them down and dropped a grub cat pancake onto each one. They were hot to the touch and gooey. They're probably best while they're so hot you can't taste them, said Fred. He bit off half the pancake, trying not to chew too much. It tasted disconcertingly like an animal. It was, he thought, like eating porridge mixed with fingernail grime. But it was better, wildly, infinitely better than nothing. Con nibbled the corn of hers. She grimaced. She didn't spit it out, though. To be honest, it's not that much worse than school dinners, she said. And she smiled. Half a smile. Like that. Max kept his food scrunched in his fist, guarding it from the others. I don't like sharing, he said. His pancake oozed out from between his fingers. The clearing was growing darker every minute. Con stood. I'm going to go and use she hesitated and coloured, the lavatory, so don't come over there or look around or I'll just have to punch you. She paused. Please. We could decide on a place, said Fred, quite far off, and then we could mark a path and nobody would get lost. They got up, all 4 of them standing close together in the gathering dark, and began to look for a suitably large tree far enough away from the fire, but not too far away to risk getting lost. This one's big, said Fred. And this one, said Con. The trees were immense, stretching at least as high as a church. We can make that one the boys' toilet, and this one the girls' toilet, said Con. Leela's smile was sudden and enormous. It showed that one of her teeth was wonky and she had a dimple in her cheek. We could call it the Lavo tree. It wasn't terribly funny, but once Fred started laughing, he couldn't stop. Con choked and had to bite her fist. Max's laughter sent a ribbon of snot flying across the glades. They laughed loudly enough to scare the birds and to make the distant monkeys roar angrily from their night perches in the trees. And that is the end of that chapter. See you soon.